Alright, before we get into the new material for this week, I wanted to show you a couple things I noticed about some of the sketches you did last week. One of the things we're going to look at is just some general neatness in the drawing, keeping our dimensions pulled away from the part. We don't have to get crazy, we don't have to do things like this, but we do want to do a level of neatness where things aren't overlapping. When you have a diameter that pulls up like this, if you'd like to change it to a single arrow leader, as soon as it's selected, you'll notice that we get the dimension pulled up over here. We can go to leaders, and we can choose radius, we can choose diameter, and it converts that to an easier call out to work with. I'm just going to pull these out here. Now, when it does stuff like this, just go ahead and work it around until it looks clean. I'm going to pull these up off the part. We'll keep them staggered, or we can pull this outside. It keeps your print easier for you to look at, easier for me to look at, easier to make sure that we have all the things that we're supposed to have. So this is a student print. One of the things I want to talk to you about is overuse of the construction lines. I know that the print has them in it, like they'll show center lines, and actually what they are center marks that go through each of the holes, but we don't need to use that during our construction. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to get rid of this circle. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this construction line. I'm going to get rid of this one, and I can put the circle way out here. From there I can add relations and tell it to be equal to this one. I still have full range of motion on it, but in order to locate it, I can say from here to that. I can say from this circle to this circle is a certain distance. Okay, and for this one it happens to be 1.88. Now I know that this number's already here, so we're going to delete that one. Notice I'm only controlling the circle itself. And when I picked it, I didn't pick from center point to center point. Okay? So notice I haven't changed the distance between those two circles. They always stay 1.88 apart. And then if I want to control its position, I can say this circle and this circle are concentric. Same thing over here. This circle and this circle are concentric. Now, they haven't lined up to each other yet because the size of this radius isn't constrained. And notice this number keeps changing. Some of you had gray dimensions. And gray dimensions just means that the circle or the sketch entity is driving the number. That number is changing based on the size of it. So we're going to delete that. And we're going to say this arc and this arc are equal. And so now we've constrained all that again. The only reason these aren't black is because we haven't given them a size. These are the two that are a diameter of 0.38. And so we'll give them those. Okay. Notice there's no construction lines or center lines anywhere on here. If I was going to continue to work with constructions or more circles, anytime I have a circle, I don't need to use any construction lines at all if I don't want to. I can always go from the circle to the circle and specify a distance. And I can always go from a solid line to a circle and specify a distance. And I've located that circle to where it can't move anymore. All I have left to do is give this a dimension, and it's constrained. When you do multiple construction lines like this, what you end up with is not only just a lot of blue dots, but you're actually constraining construction lines more than you're constraining circles. So we're going to do an example here in a few minutes talking about where it's good to use construction lines and where it's not. But something to be aware of. We don't want to make crosshairs out of center lines and then continue to use that to locate things. The other thing I want to look at this whole print for is tangency. A lot of folks are really confused on tangency, something maybe you haven't studied at the high school level or other courses. So I'm going to get rid of that line. I'm also going to get rid of this line. And I'm going to bring this arc around. I'm going to bring this arc around. Let's talk about tangency for a few seconds. If I want to make a line that's tangent here, I'm going to draw a line that floats out in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to add a relationship from this arc to this line. I'm going to tell it to be tangent. I'm then going to go to add relation, choose this arc and this line, and tell it to be tangent. And so now I've constrained that line. I haven't constrained its length, right? But I've constrained its relationship, so it can't go anywhere. I'm going to go to trim, choose trim to closest, and I'm going to trim it up. And then trim these up. That's how I use tangency. What many of you misunderstood was, or forgot, that a horizontal line this line is coincident to this circle, but it isn't tangent. Okay? And sometimes when we draw them there, but notice it's still not tangent. It's coincident to that quadrant point. And so it's beneficial to add that tangent relationship. Okay? That's really what we want to do, is get that tangency put in there. If I go to View, Hide Show, Sketch Relations, you'll see that tangency is now part of the coincident. Okay? Same thing with the vertical line. We'll put it over here. Add relation between that line and this circle and say tangent. This line stays tangent no matter where I drag it. Okay? If I want it to be vertical, I have to choose the line and say vertical. And now it's constrained. Okay? So that's what tangency is. In this particular instance over here, we could draw the line. We'll make it vertical. We'll add the relationship between the line and the arc and say tangent. I'm going to pick this arc, add the relationship to this line and say tangent. I'm going to come in here with trim, trim off the tails, and we're right back to where we were. But you have to include the tangents. If you have a problem with anything that has a radius associated with it and you move it, very often you'll see a bump. An example, if I can take this out, and I can take this tangency out, it may not give me. So now this will do that. You kind of see that this is no longer tangent, it has the bump. So we add the relationship between here and say this has to be tangent. And it constrains the sketch again. So a couple quick lessons on construction lines and tangency, circle locations. I'm going to make another video to talk about new material.